What is going on, investors? My name's Emmanuel, and yesterday was a quality session for workhorse investors. We finished up over 3% on the day. Bear in mind, that was off the back of some really interesting developments and exciting news that actually broke last week. And so for this video, I want to reflect on all the activities of last week. I want to touch on all the events that you may have missed, as well as the key events that you probably were expecting but did not occur. I also want to inform you of the current short sellers volume ratio, because something interesting has started to emerge regarding workhorse short sellers activities. And lastly, I want to finish off with what we can expect going forward this week, as we've already had a really good start to the week. So with that said, right before we jump into the video, please don't forget to absolutely annihilate that like button. It really means a lot. Plus, it helps the channel grow. And also, if you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with my latest stock analysis, as well as any major stock related news. So thank you so much for your support. Stay locked in and let's dive straight into the video. So we started off last week really well. We ended Monday's trading session up over 7%. Which pretty much doubled today's trading session. And the reason behind the incredible run was we had the US President Donald Trump endorsing a Lordstown Motors endurance vehicle. He was pictured inspecting the truck and actually offered a ton of praise for the electric endurance truck, calling it, and I quote, an incredible piece of science and technology. Now, you may be wondering, what does this have to do with Workhorse? Well, firstly, Workhorse licensed some of its design and technology to Lordstown Motors, and in exchange, Workhorse received a 10% stake in the company, which includes an entitlement fee of 1% of all equity raised to fund Lordstown Motors. So for example, through sales of their endurance trucks, which currently already has a ton of pre-orders. So from a contractual point of view, if Lordstown Motors business does well, then Workhorse will automatically be a benefactor of this success. Also, the CEO of Lordstown Motors, Steve Burns, is in fact the founder and former CEO of Workhorse. So by the President of the United States endorsing Lordstown Motors and pouring praise on their endurance trucks, that's probably the best PR Lordstown Motors will ever get. More people are now aware of Lordstown Motors endurance trucks, which in turn will hopefully drive more pre-orders and also more sales, which will of course create more revenue for Lordstown Motors, which also means more revenue for Workhorse, because remember, we have that 1% entitlement fee on all equity raised. So this positive news was really well received on Wall Street, which resulted in Workhorse soaring over 7% on Monday, which again was a fantastic start to the week. So that leads me on to the USPS contract. I mean, it's been floating around on forums, on Discord groups that I participate in, that the winner of the USPS contract would be announced by the end of September. Now, personally, I have no idea where that came from, because the US Postal Service themselves confirmed that they would award the winner of the contract by the end of this year. They have yet to provide a specific date or a specific month. All we know is that it will be confirmed by the end of 2020. And it's even possible that the US Postal Service could potentially delay the announcement, maybe to early next year, especially when you take into consideration everything else that's been going on right now regarding the US stimulus delays, as well as the US president falling ill. But we've had some good news regarding that. But either way, it's highly possible that they can delay the announcement to next year. So the idea of the announcement by the end of September was extremely speculative and also very unrealistic. Now, I know this is something that you probably don't want to hear, but you have to be prepared mentally for a delay. I mean, it even happened last year. According to an article that I found that tracks the USPS contract progression, it stated that the USPS had been aiming to make the decision last year, but had to delay several steps in the process. So investors, you have to be mentally prepared for all eventual outcomes, which could also include further delays. Now, because there was no news regarding who won the contract in September, this caused a lot of investors in some of the groups that I'm in to cash out and take their profits. I even got some messages on Instagram that people have cashed out. Now, this by no means moved the stock, but I can imagine if a few groups that I'm in thought this way, then it's not hard to assume that many other workhorse investors we're probably expecting the announcement towards the end of September. And since we didn't hear any news, I mean, we're now in October, I believe that probably contributed to Workhorse's stock suffering a heavy decline last week Tuesday through to the beginning of October. And then on Friday, we of course received the news regarding the presidents of the United States testing positive for the Rona, which pretty much sparked fear and uncertainty all across the global financial markets. And weak hands began exiting their position. Now, what does this mean for Workhorse going forward? I don't think this has changed any of the company's strong fundamentals. I do believe Workhorse may finish in the green this week, especially because the president has now exited the hospital and it seems like he's making a remarkable recovery. But regardless of what happens, I am absolutely holding onto my shares because I think whatever the week holds, we will get through it. And Workhorse hasn't even begun to fulfill its full potential. So if the price gets cheaper off the back of no USPS contract announcement, then I will be buying more and averaging my position lower. And speaking of a potential Workhorse decline, let's take a look at what the Workhorse short sellers are currently up to. Now, judging by this table, the short selling volume was quite heavy from Monday through to Wednesday, which again was expected because a lot of investors were expecting the news regarding the USPS contract to have been announced by the end of September. Now that didn't happen, hence the short selling volume. And if you're not aware, the short volume represents the total number of short shares traded on the US market. And the short volume ratio represents the total number of short shares traded divided by the total shares traded each day. So as of Friday, the short volume ratio was at its lowest it's been all week. That's also in line with the total volume, which also saw its lowest activities towards the end of the week. Now, judging from this data, it's clear that the overall investor sentiment has started to turn a little bit bullish for Workhorse because the short selling volume has started to decrease, which is a great thing for Workhorse. This could also change quite drastically this week, so it's worth keeping an eye on the overall investor sentiment, because if the investor sentiment turns bearish, that could mean that there will be more buying opportunities for us long-term investors. And the last recent relevant news from Workhorse was its listing on the General Service Agency website, which essentially provides people with the contact information details of the vehicle manufacturers for after-hours roadside assistance. Now, my thoughts regarding this is that it's very, very encouraging to see. It almost feels like a validation or recognition of Workhorse by the US government. And aside from that, I'm not entirely sure how this could tie up with the USPS contract personally, but for Workhorse as a company, especially with our plans to ramp up the production of our C-Series vans, when we do start securing and fulfilling these orders, a lot of customers will be driving the C-Series vans for everyday business purposes, and our customers can be rest assured that they have the manufacturer's roadside assistance from Workhorse. So that's my thoughts regarding the GSA inclusion. I don't want to speculate too much into or, trying to connect the dots relating the GSA inclusion to the USPS contracts. I just think in general, it's another great step in the right direction for Workhorse. So that wraps up last week leading into this week. I think this week will really hang on the balance of Trump's health. But at the moment, we're seeing encouraging signs from the White House. He has left the hospital, so that's also a great sign. Also, investors, if you do like this weekly update where I just go through the previous week, where I cover any major news relating to Workhorse, then let me know in the description below because I think it's really good. I know a lot of my subscribers are invested in Workhorse, and there's so much going on with this company. So if you want to see more of this type of content, maybe once a week, I just update you on what has taken place and events that you may have missed, then let me know in the description below because I think I'll continue with this. I do like it. It also helps me to keep on top of what's going on and also keeps you guys informed on what is going on regarding this company. And with that said, I hope you have an incredible week. Make sure you do your own due diligence before you decide to invest in any stock or any company. I've said it before and I will say it again. I am not a financial advisor, so please view my content as purely educational, not investing advice. And if you do want to learn about investing in stocks, there are some useful links in the description below. Plus my broker Trading 212 will send us both a free share if you sign up using the link in the description below. With all that said, guys, don't forget to smash the like button, Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to see more content from me. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.